Hello, judge applicants. My name is Joey, and I'm about to walk you through the ballot that you're going to submit for this application, as well as for our scrimmages this fall. Now, I know some of you have never seen a debate ballot before, and some others of you have filled out so many dozens of these that you're probably insulted I'd even provide you with a flow template here. But no matter where you fall on the spectrum, please, even if you prefer to flow by hand, please flow on this ballot. Basically, because it helps kids learn faster. This allows us to provide a clear, easy to access record of the round. It's really useful in practices, especially for beginner coaches and students. For them, it's kind of like reviewing game tape of what happened, of how the judge made their decision, of how they can improve next time. So let's look at a round together, and I'll show you how this thing works. All right, so let's say you have two students in your round. Today, let's do John versus Deco. We're going to give them a resolution. Deco will be affirming that resolution. John will be negating it. We'll call those af and neg. And let's keep today's resolution simple. Let's do cats are better pets than dogs. All right, before we hear the actual debate, let's take a look at the ballot itself. So you'll see here the resolution is already written down for you. So are the debaters' names. Here's where you have to start filling stuff in. So if you could put your name here under judge name. For paradigm, if you've never filled out one of these before, here are some questions that help guide you. Basically, we're looking for a description of your experience within the debate world, as well as some guidance for debaters themselves, right? Like this is a mock debate, obviously, but in a real round, kids are going to want to know a little bit about you as a judge and kind of what you value and what you were looking for so that they can appeal for your ballot in particular. In a second, we're going to walk through how to flow the debate using these charts down here. But basically, so the affirmative case is going to be saying, yes, cats are better pets than dogs. It might say something like, I don't know, cats are cuter, they're small enough to hold. And then the neg might respond by saying something like, some dogs are small too. We're going to go through an entire debate if you've never used one of these before. But before we do that, I just want to keep walking through the other parts of the ballot here. So we'll see there's a table for the affirmative case saying cats are better than dogs. There's a table for the negative case saying no, that's not true. And then down here, there's some space to capture feedback on the debaters, to pick a winner, and enter your decision. Now, again, if you're new here, I want to make the distinction between what goes in the feedback box and what goes in the reason for decision box. For decision box is being grounded in the arguments of the round, and the feedback boxes are for anything else you want to say to the debaters. So your RFD might be something like, our AF's second argument and neg's first argument both extended through the round, but neg clearly explained why their argument had a larger impact on this debate. It was the most important argument brought forward in this debate. So your reason for decision is grounded in your argument, and your feedback might be something like talking about the student's organization of their ideas, or maybe their use of evidence or their delivery. Anything like that would go in the feedback box. After that, you pick a winner, enter your email down here. If you have never used Tabroom before, go ahead and click this box. If you have used Tabroom and it's the same email address you use normally, don't worry about this, but if it's a different one, then you can enter that here. And finally, just generally, when do you think you'll be available? And are you looking to be paid or are you looking to volunteer when you judge? Okay, I hope that's clear on the rest of this ballot here. Let's get into the flow itself. So since Deco is on the affirmative, Deco's going to speak first and might say something like, all right, before Deco even starts here, remember Deco is the affirmative, that's going to be in blue. This is the AF's first speech, so everything Deco says is going to be in these four boxes. Cats are better pets than dogs. We all know that it's true, but let's prove it today. First, let's define what does it mean to be a better pet. People want pets that are useful and that are easy to care for, so whichever side proves that should win today's debate. The biggest reason why cats are such amazing pets is because they are so useful. Cats have been helping humans by hunting mice since early civilization. They literally built the wealth of the pharaoh by protecting the grain stores, and we find that they're helpful today too. I used to have mice in my apartment, and then I got a cat, and then suddenly the mice disappeared. And how amazing is that? We see the impacts on our health and on the larger economy because diseases, serious diseases like the bubonic plague, can spread through rodents, and cats can protect our homes from these rodents. They protect our homes, our bodegas, our food warehouses. Not only that, but the positive impact on our health has economic impacts as societies from ancient Egypt all the way up until today can store food and not worry about it and focus on more advanced problems. And cats do all of this while being cleaner. Cats are famously very clean animals. This is the second reason why you should prefer cats over dogs. There is no wet dog smell. There is no slobber. I mean, both do shed fur, that's true, but dogs definitely shed way more fur than cats do. I think we can clearly say cats are easier to care for and it's a less gross experience. There are ups and downs to having any cats, but with cats and dogs, we can clearly prefer cats.
All right, thank you, Deco. I'm going to pause you right there real quick. By the way, sorry that this is all my voice. I asked some students to play this out for me, but no one volunteered. Anyway, so notice Deco laid out two distinct arguments here. One was about utility and one was about cleanliness. And before that, they provided what we call a framework. So this is Deco saying, here's how we should even address this problem. When we think about what makes a better pet, what are the types of questions we should be asking ourselves? And here Deco used the definition to say, all right, better here I think should mean useful and easier to care for. All right, so following this, there's a period of cross-examination. So John is going to ask Deco some questions. Notice that there's nowhere to write these questions and answers on these tables. And that's intentional, actually. Most judges do not flow the cross-ex. In fact, most judges don't even count anything that is said unless it is said in a speech. So even if the most amazing point was brought up during cross-examination, they're not going to count that argument. They have to bring it up during a speech later on as well. But the cross-ex is a good place to ask some questions, get clarity, and maybe plant some seeds for arguments that are coming later. So for now, let's just keep listening.
Okay, I stand ready for questions.
And maybe give some feedback.
Hey, Deco, great speech. I have two questions. Is the purpose of other animals' existence to serve humans? Well, dogs are often literally called service animals, so I don't think that's a unique argument. Deco, that doesn't answer my question, though. Your framework partially defined better as being more useful. Do you think that other animals exist and their purpose should be judged based on how useful they are to us human beings? No, not all animals categorically, but we want pets with good symbiotic relationships. Okay, so it's more about helping each other symbiotically based on a strong relationship. Right. Oh, and just a quick thing. When we talk about cats being cleaner, we can assume cats use litter boxes, right? That's the framework we're using for that. Yeah, that's fine. Litter boxes are cleaner. Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm ready. I have 18 dogs and 7 cats, and I know about what makes a good pet. My opponent will tell you that having a good pet is about how useful they are, about how easy they are. But I don't think that it's about that. I think that having a good pet is about having a strong bond with that animal, because having a pet is about having a relationship. All right, I'm going to start with my case, and then I'm going to respond to my opponent's arguments. So first, we all want good relationships with our pets. We want lots of love and affection, and dogs are just more affectionate, period. Some of you are looking at me like you disagree, but this isn't me saying this. This is science saying this. According to the BBC, dogs' oxytocin level raises 57% after playing with their owner, and cats' oxytocin levels only raise 12%. This is oxytocin. This is the love hormone. This is the bonding hormone. We see dogs' level of that hormone elevate 4 or 5 times the amount that cats do after playing with their owner. Clearly, dogs are more affectionate towards their owner and feel that love stronger. Now, let me respond to my opponent's arguments. First, I don't know if they're aware of this, but dogs can actually mouse too. I have a source here from the Animal Pest Control in 2013 saying that dogs can be effective mousers as well. And also, I think we can block this whole argument because dogs work so many jobs. Dogs are incredibly useful. They work as hunters and shepherds and soldiers and
support animals. So I think we can forget that whole argument. And lastly, on the idea that cats are cleaner, cats are definitely not cleaner. Cats are nasty. Cats, they use the litter box in your house and then they track that litter dust all over the place. Dogs are definitely better pets than cats, and I stand ready for questioning.
All right, before we get into John's questions here, just to point out, so notice that I took all of the notes in columns that were marked neg constructive, because this was John's constructive speech where he was building out his case. And John built out his case by laying a different framework for us than Dico did. He has a different way of approaching this debate. And also by giving us his own argument, talking about how dogs are more affectionate. John then went over to Dico's case, and in the same speech, also in a column marked negative constructive, but now responding to the affirmative case, John responded to these two arguments about utility and cleanliness. All right, let's keep going.
Hi, John. Can we agree that most dog owners walk their dogs and clean up after them that way? Well, mine go in the yard. Yeah, but you or someone then goes in the yard and cleans up after them, right? Yeah, that's right. Okay. And on your point about forming strong bonds and relationships, how do you make a strong bond? What do you think? It's a lot of things. I think it's about loyalty, and it's about affection, and it's about, I don't know, just like moments of genuine connection, you know? Okay, so it's affection as well as some other things. Yes, but affection is really important because, okay, thank you. That's all my questions. All pets are independent.
Okay, Dico's about to start their next speech. You can probably tell looking at these tables, it is going to be their rebuttal speech, and we're going to have to, again, track it on these two separate tables. So they're probably going to be responding to some of John's responses to their arguments, and they're probably going to want to respond to John's as well.
Beings who deserve dignity and care. But I can win even on my opponent's framework of establishing a connection. First, I'm going to respond to my opponent's case, and then I'm going to defend my own. So firstly, we can see that cats offer deeper connection than dogs do. Dogs will show affection to anyone, not just their owners. That's not a special bond or relationship. Most cats are only nice to you if they trust you, right? But a dog's love is cheap. It's not the same kind of connection that my opponent says he values so much. Let's get back to the argument about who makes a better mouser. That same source that my opponent cited, Animal Pest Control Report in 2013, says that only some breeds of dogs will hunt mice. So I think this point goes to cats. And lastly, let's talk about cleaning up after the animals. You can get brands of litter that have no dust or anti-dust litter box designs. So I think we can forget any argument about litter dust, and using a litter box scooper is way less gross than using a doggy doo-doo bag. And for these reasons, you must affirm today's resolution. Okay, in my rebuttal, I'm gonna start by defending my case and then move on to my opponent's. Firstly, I think my argument about affection extends because my opponent has no evidence while I offer a BBC study. Like, I don't know, Dico, is a cat's love more real, or are you just projecting here? This is only anecdotal evidence. Meanwhile, we see from scientific studies that dogs experience greater pleasure than cats do when playing with their owners. We know that from these studies of oxytocin levels that shows a stronger bond. And secondly, I mean, look, maybe there are more cats that are mousing than there are dogs that are mousing, but I think it's wrong to call this an argument about mousing. This is an argument about how useful they are, right? How much of a symbiotic relationship, as you said, we could have. And there are more dogs that are working out there than there are cats working. Like I said, service animals, shepherds, bomb sniffers. So I think I win this overall argument too. This makes dogs way better pets than cats. You must negate today's resolution. Okay, to summarize today's debate, let's start with the framework. I proved my case using my framework, but I would also win on my opponent's framework because cats have a stronger bond anyway. I think that this is the most important issue in the round, honestly. We see that dogs are friendly to everyone, and that shows that their bond with their owner is weaker, whereas a cat's bond with their owner is more meaningful. And my AF wants to make a strong case about the NEG wants to make a strong case about the evidence. But that evidence only talks about oxytocin. and admits that affection is just one part of what makes a strong bond. So that oxytocin level doesn't measure everything about the relationship. And if we were to use my framework, I also proved that cats are cleaner than dogs. The plastic bag is way grosser than the litter box, which proves that cats are cleaner and less gross to take care of. And on the argument that cats are more useful, I think that we can ignore everything my opponent says about dogs who are working jobs, because those dogs are not pets, and the resolution clearly states pets. So anything about service animals or bomb sniffers, we can clearly just ignore. Instead, the question is, how useful are pet dogs, who usually do nothing more than lay around and play fetch? Meanwhile, every cat breed will help keep your house free from mice and rats. So when we look at who is a more useful pet, who is an easier pet to take care of, or even who can form a more meaningful bond, we clearly see that cats are better pets than dogs.
Okay, one more note before we get into the last speech here, just the little vocab word extend. So what Deco is saying is that there was no response to their previous, rebuttal on this line of argument. And so that rebuttal kind of extends over. There's nothing here to block it. All right, John, close this out.
Judge, the first key voting issue today is that I provide more evidence, so I win this debate. I cited a BBC study proving that dogs feel more love towards their owners than cats do. And I own dogs, so I can honestly say that doggy doo-doo bags are not that gross, whereas my opponent doesn't own a dog at all, so can't even make that comparison. And the second key voting issue is that my opponent made major concessions. When I pointed out that dogs are more useful, their only response was that not all dogs hunt mice, and dogs have plenty of other jobs, way more jobs than cats have. If you're gonna count a bodega cat, I think you have to count a guard dog. And I have family in Virginia. There are lots of pet dogs out there that are hunting and guarding the house and everything else too. And what's wrong with playing fetch? That's stress relief. That's building a relationship. Which, speaking of relationships, my opponent even started using my framework. They even conceded that. That shows they even prefer my framework over their own. And so I clearly won this debate, and I urge you to negate.
All right, thank you both very much. I'm just going to continue taking some notes on here. We said that these dogs hunt and that playing fetch can be good, stress relief, and relationship building. Okay, and then after that, provide some feedback, name your winner, and explain how you came to that decision. Again, reason for decision should be grounded in the arguments itself. You want to say something like, oh, I think that negative won this case because their argument about dogs' affection was more clearly made and grounded in their framework. And then feedback you'll give, kind of like I had here, talking about the organization of the information or maybe delivery, things like that. Once you have everything filled out, you can go ahead and hit submit ballot to BDL. And it'll tell you down here that it's submitted. If you are like me and you are a little paranoid about losing your work, I'd keep this window open for the next, 15 minutes. I think we set it to process these every 15 minutes. And check your email address, especially the spam folder tends to get lost in there. If you get a copy of this ballot in your folder, then you are good to go. We have a copy of it as well. And that's it. If you have any other questions, please reach out to me at joey@brooklyndebateleague.org. Okay, thanks for applying.